All right, here we are once again talking about the Tulsi Gabbard campaign again. But this is something that I did not expect to happen because here's the weird thing, right? So it seems like no matter what Kyle Kulinski says about Tulsi Gabbard, whether he has a critique or whatever it may be, or anything that differs from the, Tulsi cult that is the, specific idea that must be held, it seems like they don't want to critique him. Like they're cool with basically burning off everyone else, right? That being, literally everyone. David Pakman, Majority Report, everyone at the Majority Report, TYT, literally anybody, right? Anybody who doesn't fit the mold, except for Kyle Kulinski and Jimmy Dore. Those are the gods of the Tulsis, right? The Tulsiites. But it seems like even Kyle Kulinski has now become burnt by the Tulsi fans. Looks like the Tulsi sycophants are going after him now, too. Now, this is really weird. This is a tweet from a guy named Abraham Williams. And actually, I should tell you first here, this tweet. Here's the thing, right? If you're on Twitter, you know this, okay? If you see that flower right there, that flower emote or whatever emoji, and you block the person or mute the person immediately, I can't blame you. In fact, I recommend it because these people are the most annoying, senseless morons I've ever seen. So they usually brigade. But it says, apparently at Tulsi Gabbard, quote, fetishizes bipartisanship. Okay, Anna, at Kyle Kulinski. Like, seriously, dude, are you kidding me, man? Like, the ultimate cringe. But so there's this guy named Abraham Williams. Now, what's interesting about this guy, he is Tulsi's husband, okay? And he says, at Kyle Kulinski, Tulsi does not talk about bipartisanship as the objective, rather bipartisanship for the good of the people. It is the only way to make positive change. To say that she speaks of bipartisanship on its own is misleading. Hashtag Tulsi 2020. Now, I will play this clip for you folks to hear out that is specifically of Kyle Kulinski.
Partisanship, he's one of these bipartisanship humpers. And it's not inherently a good thing. I remember this is something we had to go after Tulsi Gabbard for, because Tulsi Gabbard, sometimes she does the fetishization, wow, that's a hard word to say, of bipartisanship. It's like, no, the details of the bipartisanship matter. If Democrats and Republicans are agreeing to deregulate Wall Street further, as they do all the time, that's terrible bipartisanship. If they agree to expand NSA spying, illegal unconstitutional spying, that's terrible bipartisanship.
And he's absolutely on the money there, of course. And there have been multiple occasions in which Tulsi did this. Now, first of all, Kyle's response, he sent a screenshot. Dude couldn't even take the time to crop out the top. What an absolute G. This is a tweet from Tulsi that says, at Ellen, message of being kind to all is so needed right now. Enough with the divisiveness. We can't let politics tear us apart. There are things we will disagree on strongly and things we agree on. Let's treat each other with respect, aloha, and work together for the people. So again, this is a really stupid tweet, obviously, of course. There's no bipartisanship to work with George W. Bush on, dude. Like, what the hell are you talking about? What working together for the people is this guy going to do? All this guy did was kill a bunch of people, damn near bankrupt the nation, take us into a massive financial collapse. This is the guy that we're talking about. I mean, this man is single-handedly responsible for easily 200,000 innocent civilians killed, let alone the countless thousands, I believe like 6,000 plus, wounded U.S. veterans who have died because of a useless... Imagine this, bro. The U.S. gets bombed on 9/11, right? And OBL is from Saudi Arabia, who then went to Afghanistan. And you know what they did? They bombed an entirely different country. They invaded an entirely different country and uninstalled the leader there. What the fuck? Like, I still can't believe that. A guy from Saudi Arabia who then moved to Afghanistan to fight against the Soviets, right? He bombs you, he does an attack on your nation. Then you're like, you know what is a good idea? Let's invade an entirely unrelated country of Iraq. Like, what the fuck? How do you just invade Iraq? It doesn't make any sense. And so, this is the guy that she's talking about. This is stupid. This is really, really dumb. I don't know. And it's really surprising to me, considering it being Tulsi Gabbard. Like, it's Tulsi Gabbard, for Pete's sake. Like, I would have imagined she'd be more hard line on this. But she's a weird character, man. She's really weird. And I'm fully weirded out by this stuff. Now, it turns out to be the case that basically there's a bunch of people. Again, let me repeat, just to warn you guys who are on Twitter, As soon as you see that dumb flower emote, just don't pay attention, block, mute, whatever you want. But there's a bunch of people with that in their responses trying to cape for Tulsi again, of course, because that's what they do. They're bots, you know what I'm saying? But this isn't the only time that she has done this. She also had done it with Joe Biden. She was like weirdly praising, because this was at the time where Kamala Harris and others were critiquing Joe Biden for working together with segregationists. I don't know if it was Strom Thurmond that he had worked with, or if it was another one. The name escapes me, but it might have been Strom. But she came out in defense of him, and she also did another weird thing to me, which is that she always would go out of her way to go after Kamala Harris, which is great, right? Kamala Harris is terrible. But she never did the same thing for Joe Biden for some reason. And not only that, she would always seem to steer away from criticizing Joe Biden for some apparent reason. I don't know what the reason is. And one time that she went after Kamala Harris, she was asked a question. And so the Tulsiites responded by saying, oh, well, she wasn't asked directly a question about Biden. She was asked a question about Kamala. But was she asked a question about Kamala in the debate where she eviscerated Kamala Harris over her criminal, prosecutorial record? Of course not. So you're just making shit up again. This is why I hate these people, man. Now, I do want to be clear about this. So there's actually a tweet down below this that's from Bernie Sanders, where he had sent out a tweet in 2017 where he was saying that he thought that he never called George Bush a pathological liar, George W. Bush a pathological liar, and he was just a conservative and just different on opinion. That's a stupid tweet from Bernie, and I can't believe that he would send something like that. George W. Bush is obviously a pathological liar. So is Dick Cheney. They're horrible human beings. They're not just a modest disagreement of ideas. This is not the battle of ideas, okay? I mean, I guess technically it is, but that's not how we're rolling with this, okay? So, for full disclosure, that tweet from Bernie was extremely dumb as well, and I don't like that tweet. But the bigger point that I want to give to you guys for this, okay, is this: if we are to look here at the numbers for Tulsi Gabbard, right? You can see the number right there. It says 1.3. What is this that I'm looking at? This is the Real Clear Politics national average, okay? It takes all the aggregate for the national numbers. She's polling at 1.3 points, right? So what does that mean? That means that we are wasting a disproportionate amount of time talking about a completely irrelevant candidate with zero chance to win. And I think I made this point in my previous video on Tulsi Gabbard, or one of them. I don't remember which one it was. But she's at 1.3. I mean, think about how low that is. I mean, if I were to pull up the numbers here, on here, you would literally not be able to see her. It won't even list her name, because that's how low she is. The truth is, nobody cares about Tulsi Gabbard. And this is what I mean by the Tulsi Gabbard fan base it's just a cult online that exists. And the only reason we spend disproportionate amount of time on it is because we're in this sort of progressive online bubble. And so that's what's going to happen. If you look at the early states, Iowa, she's at 1.8. That's less than 2 points, okay? Less than 2 freaking points. I mean, it's embarrassing, dude. It's really embarrassing. I've seen people try to act like, oh, but Bernie was like that in the beginning too. Dude, Bernie by this point was much, much higher, and he actually had a shot to win. And by the time it got to half to 2/3 of the election in, he was almost tied nationally with Hillary Clinton. So he actually needed that boost in the beginning, and he got that boost and got to where he needed to be. This is entirely different. This is a candidate who can't even poll at 2 points. Bernie actually has a legitimate chance to win. Like in Iowa, for example, that we're looking at right now, he's at number 2. And so that's what you have to understand. Now, this is actually a little bit concerning. The only early state that she seems to have really any support whatsoever is in New Hampshire, and she's at 5.7. So if she really ends up pulling 5.7, which I'd be surprised by, because I don't know what the reason for the white people in New Hampshire voting for Tulsi is. It's weird. But let's say she does pull 5.7. That's pretty detrimental, dude, because odds are that 5.7, or at least a majority of it's probably going to Bernard, and Bernard's winning right now, which is really dope. Shout out to my boy Bernard. That's really, really bad. Stealing 5 points, I shouldn't call it stealing, but just, taking 5.7 points away from Bernie. I mean, you're basically sandbagging the campaign and the entire effort. So not only are you super irrelevant in those other states, but in the one state where you have any support, you're just pulling from Bernie. And also, I want to mention this to you, just to debunk this nonsensical theory, there's this lunatic theory from Nico Casa, where he says that, you know, Bernie needs candidates like Tulsi and Yang at the convention because, you know, he needs their delegates. You know, the centrists the corporate Democrats are gonna pull their delegates together. Well, the progressives need to pull their delegates together. You know what the problem with the fundamental issue with that is? In a state, you need to get 15% to get any delegates whatsoever. So if you don't hit that 15% threshold, you ain't finna get any delegates. So you're gonna have no delegates. Tulsi Gabbard's not hitting 15% in any state. She's not hitting 15% anywhere. Are you kidding me? What a joke that is, dude. That's hilarious. I'm laughing just thinking about the idea of that. Maybe Hawaii? And she's not even a bad candidate. Like, I like Tulsi Gabbard. But this foolishness of her still being in the race and doing these really questionable things, and I never got a chance to cover it, but she recently said, oh, even if I make the debate, I'm not going to join it. Which is like, either, I have a couple of theories about that. One theory is that she is somebody who is trying to get a publicity stunt from that. The reason why I don't buy that is because the publicity stunt will last like maybe 1 day or 2 days, and it wouldn't cause that much rife. So I don't understand why she would do that. The most likely theory is a sort of thing of like, you know, it'd be like me saying like, you know, telling the Los Angeles Lakers, like, you know, even if you offer me a max contract to play for the Lakers, I'm not gonna take it. So don't offer it to me. It's like, obviously I'm not getting any contract with the Los Angeles Lakers, or, you know, being like, NFL Combine, don't invite me to the Combine. Okay, I'm not gonna come. All right, so don't invite me. Doesn't matter if you invite me, I'm not gonna come. It's like, okay, well, I was never gonna get invited to the Combine. It's that kind of a thing. Now, there is also one piece that is, Tulsi Gabbard is kind of being cheated out of eligibility of the debates because they throw out polls. The DNC will just look at polls, even ones with like A ratings, and they'll just throw them out. So I will throw that in there as well. They are kind of cheating her out in a way of that. But I don't know why she would do that ultimately. And also, if you don't know, she's already announced that she's not running for re-election for her seat in the House. So you're obviously not going to win the election. You're not going to come anywhere close. So I'm like, what are you doing? This is what I mean. I just don't understand what's going on in the brain of Tulsi Gabbard. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening in there. It's one of the most bizarre candidacies that I've seen in a long time because she makes all these weird like movements, and I'm like, man, what are you doing? What is going on? And then going on Breitbart and calling, you know, oh, Anna Kasparin and TYT such smear merchants, but goes on Breitbart and Dave Rubin. Like, what are you doing? Like, what is going on? None of this makes any sense whatsoever. But the Tulsi cult is really stupid. You're wasting your time. Your candidate is going literally nowhere. You're wasting your time. You're a bunch of losers. I hate her fan base. They're really annoying. And I not only cannot wait till this campaign is completely finished, because then I'll finally be able to stop hearing about the useless and just completely nowhere going campaign of Tulsi Gabbard. But most importantly, I won't have to see these annoying flower idiots on Twitter. And if she drops out of politics at this point, honestly, I don't really care, honestly, dude. Like, she's done a lot of weird stuff that I really don't understand, a lot of questionable things. And she's festered a fan base that she prods on that is incredibly, incredibly annoying. So that's the conclusion that I want you to take from this. I did this entire video on a candidate who has literally zero chance of winning. And that's quite sad.